There's one person who's very, very, has like that Sephardi mentality, and he told me the funniest thing. He tells me once that he's my client for the longest time, and he was referring us to someone, and he tells me, I told him that even though she's female, she's really good.
Oh, wow.
Hi, I'm Julie,
And I'm Razy. Thanks so much for joining us. Welcome to Money and Meaning,
where we talk about success that matters. Today's guest doesn't just talk about power, she creates it. Welcome to the podcast, Shira Parnes. Shira owns two companies, Ventura and Vetal. Okay, so tell us a little bit about your two companies. From what I understand, you are in the energy business, very male-dominated industry, right?
I mean,
so to say.
Most people I interact with are male.
And one important aspect that we'll talk about a little bit later was you were the first female person on the Jackson Zoning Board. And we'll get to that later. So
I love that she describes herself as an energy nerd.
Yes.
I love that.
You know that I got that because I had a marketing consultant I was talking to once, and I kept talking about details that a second grader wouldn't be able to understand, and he's just like, first he kept trying to help me talk like a second grader, and it was really hard for me to, and then he said, you're just a nerd, just own it.
It's great.
Yeah.
But tell us for real, what do you do?
So we, like Julie said, we're in the energy space, and both my companies are in the space around, I guess the kind of umbrella is helping companies take advantage of different opportunities or savings in the energy space. With Ventura, which is our more recent development over the last number of years, and what I spend most of my day on is energy infrastructure. So we develop and install solar, battery storage, EV charging stations, different equipment that is either producing power, which was a great intro, I love it, or ways to make money or save money in the energy space. And there's a lot of incentives that are available to make it an attractive investment for property owners. And we'll help people take advantage of these opportunities, whether they want to invest in it, or we have a financier that will lease their roof, or we own some of these assets on properties where they just want the amenity of the EV chargers, and will lay out the money, get the incentives, take care of the project. So exactly how it looks, the structure on every project is very different. We really focus on just talking. Our client is usually a property owner, and helping them see what's out there, what is interesting to them in the space, and what's the best structure for them that will match what they're looking for.
Wow. So there's a lot what you do. So the difference between Ventura and Vetal is what?
So that was all Ventura.
Okay.
And just a question, incentives are coming from the government, I would imagine.
Yeah, they're mostly state, like Department of Environmental Protection, Board of Public Utilities incentives, or utility itself will have these incentives, correct? And there's federal incentives. So those kind of agencies, and Vetal is really where I started, and that is it's consulting and implementing different strategies around how companies are purchasing their electric and gas. So helping them look at the marketplace and position themselves, a lot of procurement and just consulting around that.
So help me understand, because I just pay my bill and it says, you used a lot of air conditioning this month, you have a higher electric bill. I'm assuming for businesses it looks different.
The bills might have more cost components and different breakdowns, but it's really just a bill basically saying how much you used and how much you have to pay. But
I don't need a consultant.
Right.
So why would a business need a consultant?
So it's usually not worthwhile for a residential account to break down exactly how they're buying it. There are options out there, and some people will go on to one of these third-party supply plans. Sometimes they'll save money, sometimes they won't. And people usually make up their mind about, that's amazing, everyone has to be on a plan, or, oh my goodness, I got burned, no one should be on one of these plans. So there is technically consulting needs around it. It's just that it's not really worthwhile to invest in it.
The savings aren't that large.
Right.
If any.
And when you're a data center and you're using a few million a month, then
It
it
matters.
becomes really important to decide, number one, am I positioning myself to keep my costs the lowest? Am I also aligning these costs with like my pricing? Because it's such a big line item on their P&L, like how much they spend on their energy will drive
Decisions.
decisions around their pricing and how they want
Right.
to structure. So, and even, that's obviously to one extreme is power is very huge for data centers, but even groups of nursing homes or, for any office buildings that sometimes they're sub-metered, meaning every tenant pays their own. So no individual bill is that big, but the larger the bill is,
The more relevant this
then the more, like positioning of, do they want to be fixed? Do they want to go market-based? What percentage of exposure do they want to the volatility of the market? That's how much you're paying and how you're buying it, and then how much you're using. There's all the efficiencies.
Really
and,
interesting.
All that.
I would think healthcare facilities, hospitals, things like that would be.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. We have healthcare clients for sure, and it's a very big energy. I mean, they're so. It's interesting because it's not as big a piece of their business overall as it is for, let's say, a data center, but it still adds up and it's a large dollar amount. So some healthcare facilities pay more attention to it. Most pay attention to it, but some even closer than others. I think that's more, some of them are focused more on the revenue and they're not as worried about expenses. They want to maximize revenue but everybody wants to keep their costs down, and it's definitely a
way to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
So take us back a little bit. Like you graduate, high school. We were in high school together. You graduate high school. You go through seminary or wherever you do that year, and then you're like, okay, you get married. And how do you get into energy?
Tell us your story.
Tell us that process.
Yes.
Most people don't think that route.
No.
Yeah.
When you were in 10th grade, we were like, I want to be an energy.
No, obviously not, right. I had like 30 different things that I thought I might want to do, so this wasn't any one of them.
Right.
But I didn't have like I always knew I wanted to be X and then just follow that clean path. So while I was in college, I got a job on the side. It happened to have been working for a company that was in the space. So
Okay.
that was my exposure to it. I always loved numbers and also like making sense of numbers. So even though my job was really sales, and I think that's important anyways in every business, like that's what drives the business. So it's probably a combination of like sales and numbers that kind of brought me ultimately to where I am. And I think, of course, a number of other things, and of course the one above, all that good stuff. But I just really started to try to understand and make sense of what it is they're selling, and it opened up a whole world of like, this isn't really it wasn't interesting enough, that particular aspect of the space. I wanted to kind of take it further, and I was really looking for a company to work for. The company that I was looking to work for didn't exist. Like there wasn't really, I couldn't find, I mean now there are interesting companies out there that are doing a lot of really data-driven things, but I couldn't find anyone that like appealed to me, and
You decided to open your own.
that's
Okay.
the rest is history.
So when you started, it was just you?
Yes, I did hire pretty quickly. I right away knew like I want someone who could do certain things. I don't want to be the funny story is actually when my husband was the one who said like, if you can't find a company, why don't you just like, you don't have to work for someone. And I was like, I don't want to work myself in the basement.
Right.
And he's like, so you don't have to work for someone to have people around you. You could just hire people and they could work for you. Then you'll have like, people
Wow.
around you.
Well, so I'm assuming you had to have capital to invest kind of at first because you didn't usually.
So
You had an overhead
She
right
was
away.
selling her brain.
No, but you had an overhead right
So
away.
I can't remember exactly when I hired someone, but it was, I think the first person I hired was a commission-based salesperson.
Okay.
Me, I actually wasn't commission-based straight. It was like a small something, and I right away got some clients. I always let everything be organic. There was never any like, first let me invest capital, and then sometimes like I was so conservative and risk averse that I think it got in the way of my growth, but super like risk averse and conservative of like, I always wanted to know that I have at least, a lot of months ahead in the bank, cash reserves before I even thought about if I could start investing like any amount of it. So no, definitely no initial investment or anything like that. It was like, first let me go out there, not spending any money on marketing. I'm not spending any money on any fancy anything,
So how were you like, who were your contacts? Were they people that you had previously done business with?
I had a list. I still remember I sat down, I made a list together with my husband of about 20 clients that I was sure were mine.
Okay.
Like, these are people who either we know or they know people that we know, family, like these, we already had like a huge empire before we started, we were sure. I think one of them turned into a client. I had to chase down
Oh, wow.
and knock on doors and pound the pavement and just, I remember like one of my initial conversations I had, I was like, I said approximately 2 sentences and I remember the thought in my mind was, you better not ask me any questions because I just told you the entire 2 sentences that I know. Like, this is all the knowledge I have. I just gave it to you already. So it's just like, please God, no questions.
That's funny because I don't see you as like a salesperson like that in that sense. Like, now you're so like, you don't take that role in your company anymore.
Right.
You're more like that little quiet nerd in your office.
Right. So it's funny. I was very timid. Actually, I don't know if I should say online one of my first clients, but like a personality that people know. And he like laughs at me that when I showed up at his door, he's like, you were this meek, timid little thing, but I was just persistent. I was very determined to make this happen.
And you were sure that you had value.
And you were knocking on big doors. Like, they must have been
that were available.
But I'm saying they're people who own commercial buildings, right?
So initially it was laundromats and pizza shops, but I did set my eyes on a client, on a portfolio that ended up becoming a client, and I decided I want that. It was like this massive hotel, like many stories high, and I knew it was part of a portfolio of a lot of properties, and I was like, initially I just saw the hotel, and I was like, I want this building. Like, it was one of these buildings you pass by all the time, and I was like, that building actually, I didn't take the account because it was part of like, whatever, they had partners and it was complicated, but their portfolio ended up getting, I Googled their number, I called the front desk, I was like,
Wow.
Who do I speak to? Who makes your decisions about energy purchasing? Till I really just, I really got very lucky. Weird, I ended up getting someone like by mistake let on the name and I Googled that name and then somehow got to the name that I needed to get to that was close enough to get me into whatever. I chased down a meeting for well over a year.
Wow.
And they ended up, it took an entire year from there still to close that account, but I ended up getting that account. And
wow, that's amazing, because you know what? Some people think that you need major connections or there's some secret trick to get to somebody who's up there and intimidating and prestigious, but really all you need is like some persistency, right? Like,
yeah.
So where would you say that you got this persistence from? So what would, if you looking back, like would you have said, oh, I'm a persistent person, like, or what drove that persistence?
I think it was just like this. I just wanted what I wanted. So all I saw was
she wanted it so badly that she was willing to just.
All I saw was the end.
So the prize, right?
Yeah, and I just showed up every day to try to do it. It was
I love
hard,
that.
That's so brutal,
that's
especially
me right there. I know what it's like.
Yeah, like, and especially when like it after 6 months, all I was making was like, I still remember when the way these contracts work is that it ends up being like an annual value and you could renew them. If you keep renewing these clients, then you build up over time. So I think that spoke to me a lot. It was like there's this idea that
residuals, kind of like insurance companies, like they get the residuals.
I could really build up, and if I just get this relationship, then then they're mine. And I still remember when my annual value of like what I had locked up was $3,000, and I remember thinking, if I just triple this, it's $9,000. Then I triple that, it's $27,000. Then I triple that, it's we're getting closer to $100. And like I'll never have to do this part again. I'm like building it, and I guess and I don't know. I just always I don't.
It's amazing that you really made something from nothing, from really nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, just Google and my old jalopy that I would park like around the corner. No one should hear it squeak when I pull up.
I love that.
That's great.
I love that. So, when you started, did you envision that it would be like it is now? Like, what did you see like 10 years from when you started, and now how long have you been in business for?
So it's interesting. I started in the industry in 2011, but I started my company in 2015. So it's actually almost more than 10 years.
Wow.
It's April. So
now you have how big is your company? What team size?
So now I have 5.
Okay.
And we're a small, mighty group.
Right?
Small and mighty.
Are they all energy nerds?
They're all great. They each have their own flavor, and their own.
They make up a
what
team.
what they contribute. I'm very fortunate. I'm very grateful. And what was the question? If I envision this, so it's interesting. I think that I envisioned something slightly different, but pretty similar at the same time. I still remember at the beginning, I had this idea that I just want to know everything about my space, and I want to be able to walk into any building and really be able to understand what do they need to do, where will they get the most bang for their buck, and like I want to be able to speak to the whole holistic package and like help guide them, because there's going to be a salesperson, to hammer everything looks like a nail. So there's going to be a salesperson who's selling X, and it's not necessarily, maybe it's a good fit for this person, maybe it isn't, but it also may not be the best thing they could do. Like where do they want to spend that first, let's say, $1 million? Is it going to be in solar? Is it going to be in, a spray foam upgrade? Is it going to be in LED lighting? Like where are they going to get the best bang for their buck? I felt like that was important, because otherwise these business owners, there's so much noise in the industry, and they have to learn enough to be able to make a good decision, and sometimes they get taken for a ride or sold something. Some people are better at enjoy learning and making that decision from a more data-driven perspective, so they really get to know all these different facets, even if they're not in the energy space. And some people try to just rely on a gut, or it sounds good, and they ask their high-level questions. But I just wanted to be that person that could really know that if I'm telling you X, it's because that's really what's best for you. That's what this business needs. So
that came with time.
For sure, but that was my vision. Like that's what I wanted. I wanted to know the whole picture. What sort of deviated from the path is that in an effort to know the whole picture, I tried to be the whole picture. That was very hard to scale. Like you can't be everything and do a really good job of it. And even if I know all these things, which I don't know everything, I also can't. How do you scale that? Like it was very much me then. So then I learned that I want to really I want to decide what we want to do and do that really well, and still have a holistic perspective and know who the right people are to bring in for different things. And like we know enough to be able to, like we have a certain perspective of how we look at things, and we know enough about the space and what they're what they're proposing, but I don't want to be all the things. So
I feel like the two different businesses that you have really reflect what you just described, meaning Vetal is that let me come in as a consultant, let me guide you in the space, and then the other one, Ventura, and it was a V, that really is a specific part of the energy space that you are providing. Did I not?
Yeah, although as of now, at one point we're focused on like consulting in that way, and I got much more involved in different aspects, and it was just me, and I am limited, and
it's not sustainable.
Exactly. So it very much aligns with my vision, but it took a little, it changed a little as we got there, and I was trying to do it, and I realized, and for the first number of years I didn't actualize all of it. I focused on the one thing that we were doing, which was really the energy supply contracts, and learning along the way more and consulting a little more, but not getting deep into all the different aspects. It was a lot more number crunching on the financial analysis side. And then at one point we took on now we're general contractors, we're actually developing and installing, we're getting approvals, we took a much more active role in that side of it. So I definitely feel looking back, it is satisfying to be it really came together what I envisioned, and it's also a little different than what I envisioned, because I learned some things along the way.
So do you use plastic plates? Can't ask you that question on the air.
I actually mistakenly took someone. I think I was told.
Oh yeah.
I took someone to a local.
I remember that
eatery cafe, and there was plastic, and there was nothing for her to have.
She was horrified.
She was very respectful and graceful, but she didn't want to participate.
Right. Wow.
I think she found something, but it was challenging. But look, life is, and also there's a difference. I don't know if we have to go through which parts are really aligned with my values.
Right.
But overall, my value system is that I want to know that what I'm offering someone, it's really what I think is best for them.
It's not greenwashing.
In their position,
Right, so you're not showing up to the township meeting, save the trees. That's not necessarily your values.
Correct.
Got it.
Right, like I think there's merit to saving some trees out there. We don't have to cut down every tree.
Right.
But my core value in the space is much more in like how we are providing the service and guiding people and what we're selling and making sure that that's really what we think is the best way to do it, much more focusing on the green in their pocket than
Okay. So speaking of, I just mentioned going to township meetings. You had a stint where you served on the Jackson zoning board.
Yes.
Very unique in our community. Not many women.
How did you get involved in it?
Yes, let's tell us about that.
Through business, I ended up, I guess, meeting people and someone thought that I was like at a meeting and someone saw me, a business meeting, and someone saw me, I guess, engage with whoever was there and thought that I could just envision you on that dais,
Wow.
and asked me if I would, and I'm like, I have no connection with politics. It's not political. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like an opportunity that it was just intriguing to me. I've always been curious about land development, and in general, I just thought I have to say yes and see what happens.
Right. So how long was that for?
I was for about a year and a half.
Okay.
Was it interesting?
It was very interesting, and I did learn a lot about how boards operate and how just regulatory stuff, which actually I feel like is interesting for me and my business as well, just because there's regulatory authorities everywhere, whether it's whatever authority has jurisdiction over X, they're always, I feel like it did kind of open my eyes to see how that works, and I learned a lot about land development, and I still don't know as much as I would love to know, but little hiatus from
Right.
that
You
for
needed
now.
right. So you took a break. You resigned from your position because you needed your life balance back a little bit.
It was just
Too much commitments.
there were two. I had to choose what I am prioritizing, and I have a family, thank God, and I have a business, thank God, and Trump decided to put out some bills that made very tight timelines for us to accomplish a lot, and that also created a lot of demand in the space for people who we've been talking to for 3 years, and now they're like, we want to do it now, and we want to do it on our whole portfolio, and just it made business
Intense.
there's a lot of time pressures right now that I have to focus on, and I had just had a baby, and
Wow.
so I took off. I think that sort of helped the segue of I took off a little, I thought it was going to be a short break to have the baby, and then there was never the right time to come back, and finally I was like, I think I just have to resign, and we'll see what when and how.
You're talking about the board that you
Correct.
Right.
Correct. Yeah, there was just my time was eaten fully by everything else, and something had to give.
Right.
Wow.
Okay. So I guess how does your work-life balance? Now we know. Do you believe in balance or do you believe in juggling? Which one?
Oh, what's the difference?
What's the
Well, some people say that there's no such thing as balance. It's more like you got to juggle.
right?
Right.
How I'm sure that your approach to it.
Do you
has
believe in the
changed.
balance? You called me at 6:00 yesterday. I don't think you got balance. I don't know why I checked out, but
It's a judgment-free zone. No, but I'm sure your approach to how you balance your family and business life has changed over time, or maybe not.
So, I mean, I feel like it definitely is a challenge. It's something that my business could consume all of me, and I care a lot about being present for my family. So it's it is something that I feel like I have to be mindful of, or I really want to be mindful of, making sure that I'm not giving too much to my business when I really care a lot about being around and present. And it's also, there's definitely seasons, I think, in a business where, there's just times when it's more all-consuming and times when I could afford to, take it a little bit more easy. I'm definitely, I don't know if I have, the, golden secret sauce to, perfection around here, but I just think, being intentional about decisions is really, at least how I try to approach it. And, sometimes it's okay if I have to be working till very late for a stretch of time because that's a season. And I have to also, and I try very hard to include my kids in what I'm doing. And he's now 13. Actually, my 13-year-old does drone shots for us, and my 12-year-old does designs for us. And
awesome.
they definitely I feel like including them, they feel excited about what I'm doing. Taking them to job sites, and they've all been. Even my 8-year-old has been on the roof, and I feel like just including them and constantly being intentional and about it and mindful and just trying to recognize when I think one kid needs something, and it's not perfect, and sometimes I make a decision that then I regret or I see. I think it's just a matter of I think it's life.
It's true.
I think it's also about how you put things in perspective. That's how your kids end up. So I don't know, last night I overheard my 7-year-old on the phone with her friend, and she's like, yeah, so my mom, she has this company, J. Elcon Realty. And she's like, yeah, it's like J for her first name, Elcon, just describing it. And it was so, I thought it was adorable. And she was excited about it. She thought it was so cool.
Right.
And so she sells houses. So someone calls her, they want to buy a house. And if it doesn't work, and they don't have this, and I've spoken to people who had family members that were agents or brokers, and they're like, oh my God, she works 24/7. And I think it's about how the perspective that you put forth, and you're lucky you have your own company, not everybody does. So
she also loves what she does.
Right, exactly.
You can see it, makes her right when she talks about her work. It's great.
Yeah. So did you ever come across, we talked about you're in this industry, which I think is more male dominated than female. Yes. We want to hear a funny story about that. I want to know, have you come across someone where they're like, I don't think you're up to the task type of thing, or?
I don't find
you haven't gotten that.
I don't find that. I feel like, and I might be wrong, maybe I'm just lucky that I didn't bump into that, but I feel like if you believe that, then maybe people will believe that. To me, it's just matter of fact. I'm here.
She is an expert in this space.
It's not relevant. I don't understand how it's relevant, so I think it's just how I end up being received. At least I think so. Though there's one person who's very, 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 has that Sephardi mentality, and he told me the funniest thing. He tells me once that he's my client for the longest time, and he was referring us to someone, and he tells me, I told him that even though she's female, she's really good.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's great. That is
the ultimate compliment.
Right.
But different funny story, you said it probably unique in being in this space is that we were recently competing on a project, and the person said something about somehow it came up that when he was talking to the other provider, he had said he was saying we got another quote from someone, and he said she, and the other person knew who it was, so it
had to be you.
There was no
That's great.
There's no other she in the space.
That's awesome.
So I'm sure there are, but I bump into I mostly interact with men, and
as do I also.
It has not held her back.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, most of my clients are male also.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So being a successful business owner in the community, I'm sure you have opportunities that come your way to be impactful and give back to the community. What are some things that you do or haven't been involved in?
Mm-hmm.
Or how are ways that your success in your business has impacted either people around you, your family, your community?
It's a broad question.
We're open.
I think it's just like different things come up from time to time. Where I was like invited to a panel for 12th graders to help shape, what they want to do, which I actually thought was pretty progressive at the school.
Yeah, that's great.
But they brought
because sometimes you think there's like 3 options, but there's
therapist, special education, or
or an office job, but like something like this, no one ever says, oh, you could be an energy provider for big businesses. It's just not something that people think about.
Right. So I don't have like a this is something I've done and I'm contributing to X in whatever way, but I just think that
give people jobs.
I love, actually, it's so interesting. I love that, and I didn't realize how, I never thought about that when I was starting out. I never realized, like, you could actually give someone an enjoyable, like, work-life balance or job position, or like you could make a difference in someone's life by giving them a job, and also by making it that they appreciate showing up. I mean, now my employees are going to watch, and I don't know, maybe they don't agree, but I realized how much you hear people mumbling about their boss, and then I have the opportunity to like be able to be flexible when X comes up and you need whatever, and I didn't realize how meaningful that would be to me. Like, I feel like it's such a,
you hear people say, oh, I became a social worker because I want to work with people, I want to be nice to people. But you can work with people and be nice to people in every industry, and being in a position of power like you are with employees, you really can make a really big difference in their lives.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. And I mean, I love just talking to people. Like, people will reach out to me for the most random things, like trying to figure this out. I just feel like you would be able to help me because, and so, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I always could, but I could try.
You know what I find with Shira is like when I'll call, she has that head that just thinks questions. So it's not that she gives you a solution. She asks you questions. She kind of like, right? I find that you do that. You have that brain that like you call with like a problem and you're like, so does it do this? And you come up with like 10 questions. They're like, okay, let me go do my homework. Right? It's like that's the type. I feel like that's the type of answers you give. You don't necessarily give like an answer to their question. It's more like you help them think like, what do they have to do? What the next steps are.
I think most people know more information about anything than like some third party.
It's true.
Know your situation. You know whatever aspects there are around your problem, and like you really know that best. I also, when I was still trying to figure out one of the 30 things I want to do, I actually, it's funny you're saying this because I don't think I do it like like systematically, but I did take a life coaching course. Yeah. And I remember that being like, now that you say it, it's like bringing that up. I remember that being like a big point is it's more about the questions than the answers.
That's so interesting because if you think about it, right, like therapists, they never tell you what to do. They kind of like guide you and they ask questions and what would you want and what do you know. So that's very interesting that you say that you took a life coach. It actually helped you.
It's funny because my bachelor's is in psychology. So
really,
who would have thought? I actually tried to switch it to business. Like when I was finishing up, I was like, I'm never going to use this, and I also had the right name. Like so many people in the Parnes family are in mental health and therapists and social workers, and I was finishing it up and I was like, I finally have the right name, and I don't think I'm ever going to go into this space. So I tried to switch it to business. There's too many requirements, and I didn't think I really needed the business degree to do what I wanted to do. So
do you feel like oftentimes you can be an expert in a space, but growing a business requires a whole different set of skills? So what skills did you feel like you had to learn along the way to become an employer, and also as your business grew? I'm assuming things really shifted in terms of needing to learn new skills. For sure.
I feel like there's always more to learn. Like there's always more to learn in your space, but also in like growing a business. It's I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, you have to be good at everything, man. Like, it's not. It's not like you could figure out one part, and then you have to like also figure out all the other parts.
Can you think of something specific that you felt was like something that you needed to learn or turn to mentors for?
I mean, I always appreciate, and I try to take information and guidance and like inspiration from everywhere. So like every interaction, like my team sometimes like will laugh. Like I'll have an interaction with someone and I'll come back and we have to start implementing X because I was on the receiving end of it, and I realized we might also sometimes like
benefit from it.
Let's say I'm I was reaching out to someone and they reacted a certain way, and I'm like, we have to make sure in our like customer experience, no one ever feels that way. So I feel like, I mean, there's so many aspects of growing a business. There's like the sales, the financials, the operations, and then just the what you're actually doing and being like being, you know, there's the expertise in what you're offering, and then like what you were saying in growing a business. I marvel at how similar so many businesses are, because really they all have the same three, you know, components, and management and customer experience and strategies of how you're scaling and focusing, and you know, it's I think the biggest thing for me was recognizing that, deciding what I want, and like the focus, I think, and deciding, like pivoting from I want to be everything to I want
Your specialty.
Right. I think that was the biggest thing I had to learn, was like I might be able to master almost everything, but that's not growing a business. And then I had to like recognize what is growing a business and what needs to happen for a business to be healthy and to be able to scale. Systems and processes was like the first thing I learned.
And simplifying, which is
Yep.
what, yeah.
Right.
That's what Razy does. Systems and processes. So I think I hope your message to the 12th graders that you spoke to was like what you first started speaking about, how like you were consistent with your just pushing and moving on. Because I think that's really, I think that's how anything great starts.
Yeah.
Like,
and continues. Like you
Right.
really have to continue to be persistent. You know how many times I have that, you know, that picture of the guy who's like hacking away and he's almost there and there's like this much space between him and, I don't know if it was diamonds or gold.
Right.
Or
The other
whatever.
side, yeah.
And then he
Yeah.
turns around. You can't imagine how many times I continue to this day to like reference that, and I'm like, you know, it's just one
have to
more
keep
Right.
hack and
One
we'll
more
get
hack.
to the other
Right.
side of whatever it is.
one more no to yes, right? So
Right.
it's like 100%. I
Yeah,
think
so
that.
I think in every aspect, like especially because like as you know, as I think one of the also hard things for me at some point in like my trying to grow this business was that I constantly felt like there was like the goalpost kept moving because you pick up new ideas along the way,
Right.
and like where I thought I wanted to be was I already passed that, but I'm still not satisfied because I already want to be
go there.
there. I
Right.
think I could be.
I think
there.
I saw this clip from this motivational speaker, and he said that if you knew that every after 15 no's was a yes, you would be slamming through the phone or slamming through those meetings to get a no, so you could get right.
You're
So
that
it's like
much closer.
right. So it's kind of like reminds me of what you were saying is like you just kept going because you kept that eye on the prize, right? And like after so many no's, you're going to get a yes. Like it just keeps
Eventually,
so
someone's gonna be
exactly.
interested.
So I think that's a great message to everybody. Final thoughts before we wrap up.
I think the most important thing that I learned, actually, if like we're trying to crystallize
Yes.
something, is that I tap into your resourcefulness. I think is something that I realized for myself and also for like people around me. I did not realize when I was working for someone how resourceful I really am, because I always had someone I could lean on or someone I could turn to, and I used to marvel sometimes at the ideas and genius that people would come back to me with. Like I thought that I was at a brick wall and they would come with like another angle.
Oh, interesting.
And what I realized is that when you just like when the buck stops with you, you actually are so resourceful. And I try to actually like teach that to other people. Like don't immediately turn to your superior or to whatever.
Right. Try to problem solve.
Yeah, you
figure it out.
There's
Right.
you really, if you just tap into your resourcefulness, people are so resourceful. It's amazing.
Right.
And
That's such a beautiful message. I really like that. Yeah.
that.
That there's creativity that is latent that you don't even know you have.
right until you have to, and you don't even have to be like up against that brick wall but you kind of have to feel like you're up against that brick wall to like tap into it. But yeah, it's amazing how much people really are capable of when they just tap into it.
Wow, awesome message.
Yeah.
I like that.
Is that something you share with your employees? Like, is that you push them
yeah,
to?
she was saying that she really empowers them to try to.
Try.
Yeah, that's amazing. I like that. I'm also I kind of over time I want my employees to try to learn how I think. Like what would I do in this situation, right? So it's kind of like what would Shira do in the situation, right? You be more resourceful and try to
Right.
Right, so
like
it's-
where do you just what do you think?
right.
And it's like I didn't realize I could think about what I think here, you know?
Yeah.
Wow, great message. Great episode here. I think this will be very interesting for everybody.
Thank you so much for spending
Thank you.
time with
So
us
much
today.
fun.
Yeah, same.